Alright, we are back for turn 3, Decision Games War in Europe, 1999, second edition I believe it was. Um, Using the updated 2002 rules, or 2004 apparently. Wow. I apologize for the dim last recording. I've had a weird setting on my monitor which caused me to grab, but luckily I found it for this recording. So we're going to pick up where we left off here. German goal is obviously to take Warsaw by the end of turn 4. And this is turn 3, and I doubt they're going to take it this turn. They don't have enough. Well, I don't know. They can't get enough horsepower here to do it. So their intermediate goal is to try and pin these guys and try not to let anybody get into this hex. We'll see right now. Last turn that was as far as they could go due to a combination of air interdiction and these guys moving up to the river here and putting a Zoc on Warsaw, so that slowed them down. Meanwhile, other places is just pin and reduce. I think we got 3 main pockets. Then we do have this wing holding off. Not much, 3 infantry divisions. Probably be wiser to collapse them in there too. So let's go ahead and see what the Germans do for their move. All right. Let's see, they're basically reducing things down here. Are we going to finish this off? These guys are all trapped. We did get supply back to this guy coming up through here. Pretty much all these Poles are out of supply. Polish supply comes from Warsaw. Um, let's see, and they did move across the river here. Put 265s here, and this did move up pretty solid. 2 Panzer divisions and a Panzer Grenadier. I think they're going to be able to do it because I think, yeah, that can be an overrun in the mech move, unless it's well, it could be combat and they just advance into it. So. That would do. So this guy should go away, this guy should go away, these 2 should go away. And they should be able to close up and prevent. Yeah, if this guy can get here, that means this cannot move from Zoc to Ezoc to Ezoc. And that's what they need to keep these units out of Warsaw. So let's go ahead and see what the combat results are. All right, here we are. Yeah, Ponzan has been reduced. These units have been reduced. Probably going to overrun him in the mech move. Yeah, and they did attack and close. They left the Panzer Grenadier behind for the supply line, and they got 2 Panzer divisions now. 2 infantry. This guy can get a supply coming from back this way now. Got some units over here. So yeah, they have truly now surrounded Warsaw. There's no way in for any reinforcements. That was their goal for this turn. So next turn the goal will be to take Warsaw. That's it. Continued reduction down here, etc. So let's go ahead and look at their mech move. All right, their mech move here. Make sure I'm recording. Yeah. Yeah, they moved these guys up. Let's see, what did I do here? Yeah, he came up. So we're putting all these guys in surround Zoc. None of these 344s can move. I mean, if these 344s could make it into Warsaw, that would be a Polish victory. But instead, it's full of one-step units, and they're massing here. Not quite, but getting there. Yeah, there's the overrun, so they've cleared this off. These guys are surrounded, and they are Zoc to Zoc, so they're immobilized. This guy is immobilized. These units can move. Well, this guy can't. This guy could, but he'd be going the wrong way. So the only unit that has freedom of movement for the Poles is here, which isn't much. So I think it's all going to boil down to the big attack, and we'll see what kind of odds the Germans can generate here, the Axis. But beyond that, yeah, the Poles really can't do anything at this point. The air war's a stalemate. I didn't show you that, but Germans have 20 air points, Poles have 1, so the Germans just leave 6 for air superiority. Poles never take off, and they use the remaining units for air interdiction, etc. At this point, I don't think air interdiction is needed. Nobody can move except for these guys on the fringe here, and they're not getting into Warsaw. So this is going to just be all about how many attack factors they can generate here. So I'm probably going to jump right away. There's a Polish move, not much, but I'm going to go ahead and jump to turn 4, the German move here. We're going to bring this battle to an end. All right, I've zoomed in here. German last move, not really worrying about these guys. Turn 4, I just focused on can they get enough strength here and can they take Warsaw. That's pretty much all it boils down to. So if we look at this, and I haven't resolved this yet, but they have rules that if you attack across a river, you're halved. And I saw no exceptions for only if all units attacking across a river are halved. So I'm going to assume if you attack across a river, you're halved. So all these units will be halved. But these units obviously aren't attacking across the river. So they'll attack from there. But that's pretty much what we got. And the key was pinning these guys. If any one of these, actually if one of these right now was in here, well, they could be overrun in the mech move, but if I had 2, ideally if you had 3 units, 3 4/4s here, first turn they get flipped, but then they recombine to a 4/4. Second turn they flip, and if they don't get overrun, boom, they get hold for 3 turns. So that in my mind is a major mistake from the Polish point of view, not getting the multi-step infantry divisions into Warsaw. But once I realized it, I played the Germans aggressively to prevent that. And the rule they're using for that is you can't move from Ezok to Ezok. That was a key move there, directly from Ezok to Ezok. So if we just look at this real quick, what kind of odds? Now I got to do some math in my head. 20, 36, 36, and 20, 36, 72. So they got 72. I'll hold that number here. And these are all halved. 12 and 24 is 36, 46, 56. 68 is 34. And 36. I thought when I did it last time I was in the 90s. They've got 2, 5, 7, 8. 8 to... Let me do this offline. All right, doing the math here. It's 15 to 1. They've got about 106 points. Got 72 over here, and then 34 here. So it takes you to 106. They've got 7. So that maxes them out at 12 to 1. Throw in air power, and it's a DE result. And the bottom line is these units can't flip. At least I hope not. Nope. Nope. If it'd be any, it'd be this guy. Nope. And nope, these are all eliminated. Okay. And then they advance into Warsaw. All the Polish units are pinned. I would have moved these to pin these even more. Not much I can do, so it is a German win. But look how this would be different if these units were here. So what happens is the first attack, let's say, so one turn, there's an attack, and they all get reduced. Now, after that, though, they can recombine. 3 of these together can recombine and leave with 1. So the second turn, the next turn attack, this is flipped. But then potentially these guys could overrun. I mean, if they've massed enough people, they get 13 to 1. So probably hold out for 2 turns. Now, if for example, well, if there was only one of these guys in there on the last turn, he would have flipped. And then one of these units would have overrun, no problem. So 3 would have stretched it out a little longer. So in hindsight, I mean, I would say, the important thing is Germans prevented the Poles from getting multi-step units into Warsaw. I think that's the key with a 4-turn limit there. Um, so this does look like a German win here, down to the last turn, last combat. I could have played the Poles better, like I said, thinking about that strategy there. But either way, let's see. I had some notes here. Hold on. Yeah, just some comments here. First off, the overrun rules, you got to generate 13 to 1. I didn't find, well, if the only overrun rule I saw is if you attack across the river, you're halved. Don't really know. There is no real terrain effect for being in a capital. I didn't see one. All right, let's do some sanity checking here. I don't see any. Oh, here we go. Well, negates enemy Zoc. Maginot Line hex, West Wall hex, fortification hex, city or capital hex, major minor port, resource manufacturing center, no effect on moving, zone of control. I think they could have gotten him in there. Negates enemy Zoc. I don't know what Rule 30 is, but that's a big one. So what that means is, let's say for example, I'll flip this guy. We could have got one of them in there, I think. Yeah, there we go. So we were like this. And if Warsaw negates enemy Zoc, that means this isn't considered a Zoc to Zoc move. They can always move one. And, well, yeah, I mean, they could do an exchange. We could get at least one guy in there. But then with the DE result, they could have gotten one guy in there. Okay, so, yeah, and I'm just interpreting this negates enemy Zoc. I'll have to check this rule here. But that means at the end of the combat, this guy would have flipped. And then in theory, almost any of these guys could have overrun him. So it's still close. But I think, yeah, I could have gotten in. I don't know if this is a match 30. Do I have 30 here? Soviet production? I don't think so. Combat effect when defender is in hex. Maybe it's 3. Of course, no, that's game equipment. So I don't know what that reference is. I'll have to look. But yeah, that's what I would interpret now. Negates enemy Zoc is the key thing. I'll have to look at the rules here real quick. All right, I think this is the reference here. I don't know why it says 30. It should be 16. But if I'm looking at this, it does talk about some of the units enlisted here. Maginot Line, that's 16.1. And 16.2 is West Wall. Okay, 16.3 is Swiss Redaus and Sevastopol. They don't list that there, but that's kind of matching. Tobruk. But fortification markers, that's 16.5. Fortification markers. That's it. So I don't see any effect on combat. It just negates enemy Zoc. I gotta catch that next time. So it does look like they could have gotten one of them in here. Don't know, with 106, I don't think that would have been enough. They would have had 3 more factors, 10, 106. Well, 10 to 1. So I guess it could have been different. Okay, in that case, it would have been This guy, let's see if we pulled him out. We would have had 11 here. And 106 divided by 11 is 9 to 1. No pluses, so they would have gotten a +1 from air support. So, it all depends on what a half exchange is. Same as exchange, except the attacker need only remove units equaling 1/2. Okay, so 9 to 1, table 2, and defender retreat would have done it too. So even at that odds, they may have lost some units, but 1/2 exchange. At worst case, they would have had an exchange. That's 11. I would have burned infantry units and then kept one of these stacks ready to overrun. So I think it would have fallen anyhow. So I think the result is the same. I don't know if 2 would have made a difference, but either way. So that's the end here. One other comment I find interesting is the moving factors. A lot of these minor infantry have a 4 movement factor. And with a 4 movement factor, you cannot move from one EZOC to another. You don't have enough movement points. 1, and then 2 to leave, 2 to enter. That's 5. But notice the German infantry can. So that's an interesting difference there. German infantry can move ZOC to ZOC. Enemy just 1 hex, obviously. But these other ones with the 4 movement, once they're pinned, they're pinned. Now, if they're out of supply, their movement's halved also, so they're not moving. You can move enemy ZOC to enemy ZOC only if you have enough movement points. You can always move 1 hex rule, but the one time that doesn't apply is when, and these are key nuances here I'm just trying to pick up about the game before we play the next scenario here. It's kind of, I guess I could look for it. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, here's the kicker. During any initial or mech move, it's allowed to move. May always move 1 hex regardless of the move points it has to expend, except to move directly from one EZOC to another EZOC, and except to overrun. So that's the key right there. Polish units, once you pinned them, you pinned them. They can't move. German units, in theory, with a 5 movement, they had a little bit more flexibility. Now all bets are off once you get the motorized units with the 10 movement factor. That all goes away. And then the armor, even though it's 8, it moves in the mech move, so that's pretty much 16 over a turn. So they're ultimately over a turn the fastest moving units. But yeah, that gives the Germans a little bit more flexibility moving. They can move from EZOC to EZOC where this guy can't. He's only got 4. So something to think about. Overruns, calculating the most the Germans could get, only 3 units, so they can only get 30 right now with their 10/8s if they had 3 Panzer divisions. And that's not enough. 3 factor. If you got a hex with 3 defense, you can't overrun it at this point. You can't generate 39. 2 points you can. 2 points is 26. You're not going to do it with 3 infantry units. Now, a single 1 defense factor can be overrun by infantry, but they're going to have to. Well, I did do that somewhere. I think I did it up here, but it's problematic that they can't do it moving from EZOC to EZOC. Even though you ignore the EZOC you're overrunning, if you're close up on the line, if you move from EZOC to EZOC, it's not going to work. Let's see. Yeah, so let's say this guy right here, that's 18 to 1. I can only take 3, that's fine. So I'd move here 1, 2, 3. But, you know, if you had something like this, still could do it. So you'd go 1 to move here, 3 to enter these guys' EZOC, and another 2 for the overrun. So they can still do it 5. So the German infantry, that 1 movement point between 4 and 5 does make a difference. Now, when they couldn't do it is this. Because if they move, they can ignore this guy's Ezok, but they're moving from Ezok to Ezok with this guy, and that's 5, not counting the 2 overruns, so they're stuck. So in this sense, they couldn't do it, but in this case, they could do the overrun. So little nuances here, starting to pick up here in the operational, and there's still much more. Haven't touched on, kind of dabbled with rail movement. Haven't done sea movement and all its permutations, or air movement, not to mention all the other strategic level stuff. So I think the next scenario is going to be France. Unfortunately, my vassal mod kind of blew up, so I'm probably going to rebuild it from scratch. I was piggybacking off another vassal mod and adding to it. It may have gotten too big. But looking at the scenarios, yeah, the next one is France. 22 turns. See how that plays out in the strat. I don't think you do production. Turn track has reinforcements that come. And it's only map C. So we'll do that. I'll probably have high counter density. And we've got air points 28. Now we've got the air transport and airborne units, so the Germans can do probably an airborne, and then we're going to have to figure out some way to play. There's a total of 10, so it's 28 to 10 for air power. Have to figure out how to play that out. But yeah, we'll play this one next. It's too bad they don't have any scenario for like Denmark, Scandinavia, Norway. That would be fun to try. That would probably bring a lot of rules into play: airborne, sea movement, amphibious invasion, etc. But anyway, so France 40 is our next scenario in our War in Europe, second edition journey. And then I think after that one, North Africa. That's got a few maps though, A, D, E, and J. 47 game turns. That will keep us busy. That will keep us busy. And then after that, we've got Barbarossa. I may have gone by it. Yeah, there's Barbarossa. Don't know. Maybe I'll try that one. I don't know. Anyway, hope to return to this shortly after I do some work on the Vassal mod. And we will do case yellow. I think that was the color. First part was Gelb, and the second part after Dunkirk was Rot, case red, where they finished off France. So I'm going to try that next. Anyway, if you've been listening to this series with War in Europe, it's so far it's interesting. I like that mix of right now operational level that I'm doing with this combat, but then it does expand to theater-wide, strategic, etc. So interesting to see how that plays out and getting the rules nuances. So sounds like fun. See you at the next one. Thanks for listening.